So I'll never forget the exact day I decided that I wanted to become a musician and do music as a career. I'll never forget, I was in high school and I had been playing music in band in middle school and stuff for a little while. And I had started dabbling with a few instruments. I played drums, I played saxophone and stuff. And then I decided I wanted to start playing piano and like organ and stuff like that. So I got a little familiar with those. I never forget when I was learning, there was a popular song out at the time. This was the mid to early 90s, and Boys to Men was one of the premier R&B groups of the 90s. And I wanted to learn how to play one of their songs. It was a song by Boys to Men called On Bended Knee. And I had this little toy keyboard at home that I was picking around playing it, and I was trying to learn the song by ear. And I was picking out the little melody. I could barely play chords and stuff at the time, so I was picking out the melody and stuff, and I, got it to whatever reasonable degree. It was just me picking around with it. But the very next day, I got to school, and this was my ninth grade year, my freshman year in high school. And when I got to school that day, I had choir as my first period class. So what would happen is I would get to school. If you got to school early, you would get in the choir room, get seated and all of that kind of stuff, and wait for the choir instructor to come in. Well, this particular day, I got to school kind of early, and I was in there, and of course in the choir room, in a instrument room, there's a piano in there. So I went over to the piano and I started playing the piano, and I started playing this little melody that I had learned, Boys to Men on Bended Knee. And the bell rang for the class to start, and then the other class members and stuff that were would come in when the class started, and the teacher was late that day. And I never forget, as I was sitting there playing, the students walk in, and there was this girl there that I had a crush on that had never said a single word to me. Like, I had this huge crush on her, and she had never said a single word to me, so I didn't even know if she knew I existed. But I was there and I was playing that melody of the piano, and then it got everybody's attention in the choir room because it was a very popular song. So a lot of the girls in the choir, they start coming over to me, like sitting next to me on the piano bench and standing around the piano and saying, like, "Oh my God, I didn't know you know how to play piano," and "Oh my God, that sounds so good. Can you play this? Can you play that?" And it was an awakening. And then the girl that I had a crush on for the first time said something to me. She was like, she put her arm on my shoulder, and it's so funny. Like, I can still remember it like it was yesterday. She put her arm on my shoulder like, "Oh my God, you sound so great when you play. Like, oh my God, I didn't know you played piano." Oh, like start giving me this attention, right? And so in a freshman, high school freshman's male's mind at that time, I'm like, oh, wow, this is my ticket. And at that moment, I think what I realized is that what I did musically had power, right? It had influence. It was able to move people in a way that it wasn't, I guess, that wasn't possible before, right? Before I was able to do this, I was kind of obscure. I had no one's attention. There was nothing that was really kind of unique or special about me, or at least that's what I thought about myself. And then when I expressed this talent, it garnered attention. It was powerful enough to get attention of people, and not only attention of people, but particularly in that case, the attention of someone that I wanted to get attention from. So again, I think I realized in that moment that, this is a superpower, that being a musician in a lot of ways is a superpower. And for a long time, that became my motivation for playing and for wanting to be a musician. So I went through the course of that, and it's funny how the course of those things change, because what happened was, over time, I got really good at playing. I got my first job as a piano player at a church and all of this kind of stuff within a year of that happening. That's how quickly I moved with this thing. So it was crazy, but I remember some years went by, and people would ask me to play for, different types of things, weddings and, wedding ceremonies and things like that. And a few years had passed, and I remember someone that I had played for a wedding for, a friend of mine from high school. I played for her sister's wedding. And some years after that wedding happened, that particular friend contacted me, and because one of their parents had passed, I think her mother had passed, and like she told me about what happened at that wedding, some things that I didn't know about. What happened was they had called me to play for that wedding like last minute, and I had no recollection of this because at the time I was doing a lot of stuff, but they called me to perform and play for that wedding at the very last minute, like the day of, and they thought it was remarkable of how I came in and learned songs that they told me like 30 minutes or an hour before I got there to play, and then I learned them like in the car on the way there. And they talked about how I pretty much made their wedding, her sister's wedding, because they were really worried about the musician or something that they had, reneged on them and couldn't be there or something for some reason. But they talked about how I did that. Now, she's telling me this and I had no recollection of it, but she was telling me about when her mom passed. One of the things that her mom was saying to the sister was that her sister really needed to call me again. And this is years after the wedding, that her sister needed to call me and really thank me for that wedding, because at that time I made, in her mom's mind, I made the wedding. Like it was because of me that the wedding happened. And I didn't think of that, of course, but that's what her mom thought. So I'm listening to my friend from high school tell me this story about her mom and her sister, and I'm just listening like, wow. And I think in that moment, what I realized was that not only is this powerful, not only is being a musician and what we do as musicians in a way a superpower, but it really has the ability to change people's lives. And I think I decided in that moment that that's really what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted my focus as a musician to be. I wanted to touch people's lives, and I want to change their lives, even in the subtle ways that a lot of people, may not even think about, like ways I just wanted to be able to change people's mood. Like I wanted to be able to play or perform something and have someone be in a better mood after they hear that, that performance than what they were before that performance. And I've always thought that that's like a really cool superpower to have. And that's, has gone into what my life's work is as a musician now, and here for, this channel, what I do for musicians. I really want to put something out. I want to take all of that knowledge and stuff that I have learned that has become my superpower, and really just give that to other musicians as well, so that they can experience that, so that they have that, that feeling of being able to change people's lives for the better. You know what I mean? Like just have that thing to where what you do inspire someone so much that it just makes them want to be better. Like that's such a superpower. And that's what I really think about, again, as musicians. What we do is a huge superpower. So I would ask you, what's your reason for wanting to be a musician? What is your reason for wanting to have this superpower? A great author named Simon Sinek always talks about in his writing and in his books, talks about beginning with why. So I would ask you, what's your why? Why do you want this superpower? Is it so that you can be helpful and beneficial to others and change the world? Or is it for some other reasons that are more selfish? And the reason that that's important is because when you have the former reason, when you want to see the best in people and when you want to change the world and have that superpower be something used for good, you will never have to worry about money and people paying you and giving to you, because that is a valuable commodity to have. So again, what's your reason?